Oh, good evening, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to this IKoK Chat, the International Coalition of Krones. Tonight, we're having a conversation with the Krones. Who knows what we're going to talk about? We're going to allow what needs to come through. I'd like to introduce myself. I am Krone Essence Ka. I'm the founder and one of the Krones of the International Coalition of Krones. And it is my honor and my privilege to be here sharing with you this evening, today, this morning, this afternoon, whatever the case may be for all of you. And welcome, 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 welcome. I'd like to take this time to ask the other two Krones to go ahead and say hello and introduce themselves. Kabaha.
Slight technical problem on muting. Anyway, good evening. Hello, everyone from Northern Arizona. It's quite chilly tonight. My name is Kobaha. I'm an intuitive spiritual facilitator and crystal therapist. Thank you for joining us. I think we're going to have another interesting chat tonight, and just relax and enjoy the chat and the energy. To you, Oriane.
Hi, I'm Ariane. I'm from the far north of Queensland. At the moment, it's a country of clouds. We don't get rain too often, but we are getting rain today, which is fantastic. So happy to be here. I'm a meditation therapist and holistic counselor, and we're just going to have an amazing program today. Thank you for joining us. Back to Essence.
Thank you all. Once again, technical difficulties unmuting. Just for the record, I am in Southeast Texas in the United States. I'm a spiritual growth guide and awakening facilitator, an Akashic record access guide. We're just not even going to go through the list. Just suffice it to say, I'm here just like everyone else doing my divine, sacred, contractual work to the best of my ability through this human experience. So as we begin, we're going to start with how we always begin these chats by coming together, and I'm going to share some Metatronic numerology IM keyword phrases that are specifically connected to, as far as we are concerned, the IKoK. We call these the energies of the IKoK, I guess you could say. But as I read these and share these, I'd ask that you just close your eyes, listen, and allow the words, excuse me, and the energies to flow through you. And this helps us all come together as one and create a sacred space in which to do this work this evening and to share. So we'll begin. The first Metatronic numerology IM keyword phrase belongs to the 2266 dual frequency. We call this the heart of the IKoK. This frequency IM keyword phrase says, I am the master of divine balance. Through the remembrance of the singing of the sacred cosmic song of self, I ignite creation of new realities. I am that which rebalances and heals. The next IM keyword phrase belongs to that of the 2277 dual frequency. We call this the four cornerstones of the work of the IKoK. It says, I am the form of the sacred structure of collective reality known through the awakened divine rational mind. I build reality upon the foundation whose cornerstones are honor, integrity, responsibility, and expansion of sacred perspective. I am the master builder of collective galactic realities. I would like to take this opportunity to say, let it be said, I, Krone Essence Ka, we, the Krones of the International Coalition of Krones, hold no answers that can be considered 100%. Nothing finalized. What we do hold are perspectives and possibilities. What we share, the information we share, the teachings we share, once shared, become potentials. And with that, we'll begin this chat. In this chat, we want to, first and foremost, we are simply going to allow whatever information comes through to simply be shared. Most normally, I have usually quite a few notes, and don't get me wrong, I've got a pile of notes over here, but they're notes from messages that I've received and transcribed probably over the last month. I'll be simply going through them as we go and allowing messages to come through. For the first time in one of these chats, I've been instructed by my guides, that's the way I perceive it and therefore share it, to share as a part of this chat, just a message that comes through in this moment from the Akashic field, a message that is for each of us individually and for us as a collective, as an individualized consciousness. I have no idea what, we'll say, universe wants to share with us this evening, but we'll find out when the time is appropriate. So in getting started, I am hearing right now, I would like, Kobaha, I would like for you to go ahead and let's pull a card. Let's start with that. Okay.
Sure, I've got a deck here. Okay, that's the deck. I'm going to use Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. So let's see. Not really surprised. Co-create. How interesting is that?
Before you get started, I would like to share that as you were pulling the card, I was looking at some of the notes that I had gone through and just laid out for possibilities to share. And one of them was a message actually from October 22nd. Just a short, simple message. And it says, the door to the past is closed and the future is a new reality. But I, you, we, the collective, must step through the door into the future of a new reality.
And basically co-create, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And what I'm getting from there, actually, I know we talked about it between the Krones lately, about comparing our own reality with the collective reality. And I know personally, my reality is very different. I know the collective reality has been quite chaotic for the past 2 years, full of fear, anger, confusion, uncertainty. And I think Spirit want to remind us, each of us, we do create our own reality. We can co-create, yes, with Spirit as well. And there is a time as well. I'm talking timing here. When I'm shown we plant the seed, we're making the first few steps, but eventually it's time to surrender and let spirit takes over. And I'm talking more regarding the timing and the how, and not hold on to it too tightly. That's what I'm getting. But yes, there is a strong message here. We do create our own reality. And I don't know if Essence wants me to share the information I've got about that, actually, or I'll do it later. But yes, I'm not surprised we got this card tonight.
Just to expand on that a little bit, what Baha stated there about we create our reality, and we do, okay? From an individual perspective, we create our reality really through the perspective that we hold and perceive reality that is being experienced. Okay, we are not, and this is, Kabaha mentioned that we've been talking about this, and I've been sharing here recently. We've talked about this quite a bit because I think there's been some misunderstanding, and I'm always looking for this word that seems to disappear. I don't know why. But confused, we'll just go with that. Information about, we create our own reality. We do by the perspective we hold through every situation, but none of us, no one on this planet is exempt from the experience of the collective reality. We are a part of the collective. There is no way to not be affected. And if this global pandemic, as it's called, has not taught us anything, I think it should be that. It should be that this true understanding of we are all one, okay, from this perspective of this has affected everyone on the planet at some level or another, some more dramatically and traumatically than others, and some we feel like not at all, okay? So it's like we look out and we see the chaos, and then we look into our own life and we go, but my life's been okay. But that does not mean that you have not been affected by it. If you are here in human form, you have been affected. There's no way around it energetically. And if it has not been a traumatic or dramatic effect on your life, then you have been blessed. Okay. But even something, once again, there's perspective there that has to be held, because even death is, and this is what I'm hearing to share, so I'm just going with it. Okay. Even death of, say, a loved one or something, that's a dramatic and traumatic experience from the human perspective. And I'm not taking away from that. I mean, just as an example, my mother-in-law passed, through this process. But it's a perspective of you can either fall into that deep fear, right, that has been so overwhelming for this collective, for the planet, for global society now. And a lot of people are entrapped within that. And using these terms generally and loosely, okay, as light workers and star seeds, and I'm using those terms simply because they're terms we're familiar with and we understand what I'm saying, okay? We're very much here to help hold an energy field, if you will, that at least allows others who are experiencing a lot of trauma and drama in their lives, even while we're experiencing trauma and drama in our lives, because we're going to, but to hold an energy field that others can find comfort in is what I'm hearing. Okay. Kabaha, I think now if you want to go ahead and share what you've written that you want to share, it'd be a good time.
Yeah, sure. Basically, just to give you an idea, the title chosen for my notes was Shift Realities. We need to start seeing a new reality. So when Essence mentioned about perspective, it's very much about that. So if we look at humanity, there are approximately 7.7 billion different human realities creating the existence of the collective consciousness of humanity. Bear with me, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite hobbies, baking. I think the metaphor is perfect to describe human realities vibrating on Earth. Think about a cake and how each individual speck of sugar, salt, flour, and egg collectively makes that cake. Our personal realities are the specks of flour or sugar or salt. The collective reality is the cake. Right now, in human evolution, we are in the mixing stage of cake consciousness. People still mostly identify as salt, flour, and sugar. Most of us don't experience the cake essence, yet many of us somehow know we are part of a larger recipe. Reality is defined as a state of being, but most of our realities come from the notion of thoughts and ideas. Unless we've consciously experienced oneness, we are essentially experiencing a little tiny perspective of the collective reality. Very few of us have experienced the true state of being as it actually exists. And so we are left with an imagined reality made up of only our personal experiences. In a cake, there is a oneness of the ingredients. No longer can you identify the flour, the salt, the sugar. The individual vibrations have become an alchemically different experience. Have an honest look at your life right now. How are you showing up in the world? What's going on for you? How does your reality feel compared with the collective reality? Are you easily influenced by the fear-mongering news from the media? Or do you use discernment? I strongly believe we do not see life as it is. We see life as we are. And yes, most people assume we see the world objectively. And there may lie a great source of pain and suffering because we are projecting our thoughts and beliefs onto the world around us, believing that this is how the world is, when it is just us playing a game with ourselves. And so we constantly fool ourselves into believing what we already believe is true. And we create our reality and then let it control us. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can shift your reality once you start seeing life as a reflection of your own heart and mind. When you understand that you read whatever meaning into situations you choose to believe, you can then use reality as a tool for self-reflection and growth. This is one of the most powerful shifts you can make because it switches you from a term I know is difficult to take and accept, a victim, into a powerful creator. It is how you shift your reality by shifting yourself. We are not having the same experience of the world. The truth is, there are completely different and unique universes for each and every one of us. This means that the universe that you experience is custom made for you. Those differences are directly related to who we are and how we see ourselves, each other, and the world. Indeed, there are billions of different realities going on right now. To shift your reality, you must realize that this reality is yours and yours only to shift. How you feel at any given moment sends out a vibratory energy that life immediately reflects back to you. This is the law of attraction. If you feel happy and light-hearted, others will reflect that. And if you feel down, others will reflect that as well. Shift your reality to the reality you want to experience. Anytime that you fail to take responsibility for your experience of reality, you choose to play the victim. You shift your reality into becoming the victim. As long as you blame another, you give away your power to change. When you blame someone for hurting you, you lock in the very thing that you are blaming him, her for. In other words, if you blame someone for disrespecting you, you anchor the energy of disrespect into that relationship. Our reactions are like universal requests. In this case, the universe hears more disrespect, please. As a result, disrespect may show up in other relationships as well. Before you know, everyone is treating you in the same negative manner. Do not get swept up in the fear around you. Instead, mindfully rise above it. We are no good to anyone, including ourselves, if we give away our power. Yes, the world is upside down right now. There are things that we would change in a heartbeat, yet they seem beyond our control. But feeling fearful and insecure will not help to shift our reality in a positive way. Unfortunately, buying into negative as a collective consciousness just creates more of the same. It's time to rediscover our connection to ourselves and our passions. It's time to discover something totally new, a shift in perspective, a new way of seeing ourselves, of seeing the world, of being. Mindfulness is about being observant and remaining neutral about what goes on in the world around us. This applies to the environment within us too. If we struggle inside ourselves, stepping into an observer position gives us a new, powerful perspective that neutralizes any discomfort. It's very important to be extra mindful of our energy at this time. This includes the energies of who we spend our time with, where we focus our intention, and what we give away our own precious energy to. What we think now becomes our reality. Have you noticed that there is a change, an amplification of manifestation of our thoughts? What's around us now is made of our thoughts and emotions. Pay attention to possibilities of other realities and allow yourself to see and imagine them. There is so much potential to discover about shifting our consciousness and realities. Just look at the way we sometimes get stuck in a flat reality with little possibilities on the horizon. We then make a shift in consciousness. Our reality and the way we experience changes completely. Our horizons expand and we start seeing opportunities we were not seeing before. We get energized and start doing things we never thought possible. What makes this shift? What makes us jump? How did we bend our reality? every life situation is an experience in itself. It's up to you how to perceive and respond to a situation. The way you experience various situations can depend on your beliefs and perceptions. Creating your own reality will help you to access a bigger part of yourself with positive energy that move towards growth. Thank you. Back to you, Essence.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that perspective. I like that very much. If you would you please go back to the beginning of that? And you made mention of oneness. I don't remember exactly what you said. It was very close to the beginning. Can you find that?
Yes, unless we have consciously experienced oneness, we are essentially experiencing a little tiny perspective of the collective reality.
Okay. In this moment, and I know this is, not our usual format, but in this moment, would you expand on that a little, like what that means to you? And then Ariane, I'm going to ask you to also expand on that statement right there. So if you would share that statement one more time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Unless we have consciously experienced oneness, we are essentially experiencing a little tiny perspective of the collective reality.
Okay. So maybe I think what I'm hearing is what let's look at and kind of expand on it. What would be, in your opinion, and there's no right or no wrong, these are just perspectives and personal experiences, to be honest. What give us an example of an experience of oneness from your perspective,
Well, experience of oneness is to feel the connection with everything, with humans, with, let's say, nature. To me, this is the connection to oneness. Right. So in the context there, I feel that unless we understand the connection with each other within the collective, and understanding, and I'm not saying agreeing, but understanding we all have different realities. We are tiny experience of our own reality, like put in a corner. It's just tiny. So it's almost, I can hear in my mind, being open-minded to others, experiencing different realities.
So being open-minded and allowing for others to have a different perspective and even a different experience from what we have, and knowing and not judging is what I'm hearing, and not judging that as like, oh, well, that's not right because it's not the way that I, either do it or have been taught to do it or have read you're supposed to do it or whatever that might be.
It's interesting what I'm hearing. I'm hearing oneness equal openness. I know there's similar endings, but it's all about, in some kind of way, compassion and accepting we all have different experiences, different realities, but we are all connected. And interestingly, when you mentioned at the beginning, yes, your reality is going to be different to mine, but we are still part of the collective consciousness of humanity.
Right.
So if we take as an example, the last couple of years during the pandemic, it's been for some people very tough, others less, but hopefully we have learned something about it, and it's going to be different from one person to another.
Right. And it doesn't take away. Ariane, what are your thoughts on that oneness
Oh, I have
experience?
thoughts. An experience came straight to mind here.
Okay.
And this is the fish. So
Mhm.
Essence knows exactly what I'm talking about now,
Yeah.
because I had a lot of discussions with her on this one. I have grown up with the knowledge given to me by other people. I have the most horrible, disgusting, frightening, scary voice on the planet. And so when we come to do chanting, as we have been doing for the last 106 days, it's a major hurdle for me to get over. I am also deeply connected to water. I have a phobia about water, but I have to be next to it. And so I hit both my phobias at one time, and I go down and I sit next to the water and start chanting. And to do that, I have to break down a lot of barriers. And I was chanting, and I noticed while I was chanting that a whole heap of fish came up to join me, like 50, 60 of them. Some of them were little tiny ones, some of them were pretty big. And they were just swirling around, appeared to be listening to me. And this was really strange, but I went with it and I went into it. I went deeper and deeper and deeper. I was already breaking barriers and I was stepping deeper into it. And what I found was that one particular fish was there, and it was on the surface. It had its mouth open, and I became that fish. I sort of fell into its mouth, if you will, and I became that fish, which was me, which was the fish, which was me. It was this circular thing with the fish. I was one with that fish, and it is an amazing experience. And this is something that Essence has told me is a profound experience called Wu Wei. Wu Wei, I think it's, yeah. And it's beyond anything that I would ever expect to experience. And that was a taste of oneness with one other creature. That really was oneness. I was that fish, and that fish was me. There was no difference between either of us. And I just cannot, as a human being, conceive that as being planet-wide. We're aiming for it, but if that was oneness with one creature, if we can achieve this at some point in the linear time or whatever, it's going to be, I actually don't even have the words for it. I just don't. But that was my experience of oneness with one creature, and it was deep and it's changed me. And now every time I go down to that water, I'm looking at the fish going, hi, was it you? And I'm never sure, because the fish is a fish is a fish, but it was me too.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. That's a beautiful experience. And these are experiences like this that I think we all have through our lives. And most generally, they simply happen. They're not really something that you can make happen, if you will. There are techniques that can help take you into an energy that is conducive to having these, but you cannot force these experiences. I'm going to go ahead and I want to share this message that I received this was actually on November 30th of this year. And it's about oneness and duality. Okay. The one, what we call oneness. Okay. The one is the initial manifestation of duality. Now, really listen to that. I'm going to say that again. Because we think of, and the reason I'm sharing this is to give a little different perspective, possibly, about oneness and duality. Because in this belief system, especially, we're always talking about, duality, basic, and saying it simply, duality is bad, oneness is good. Okay. to say it very simplified. And we're always talking about how we need to do away with duality and simply become one. All right. And I am here to share in this moment from this perspective that if we do that, we can no longer be who we are and experience who we are experiencing being. Yeah, I know, circle talk, but it's really no easier way to say it. So the one, here's the initial, the one is the initial manifestation of duality. For the one cannot exist, cannot and does not exist outside of a duality realm. Now think about that. Without duality, there is no oneness. Oneness is a thing that exists only from the perspective of duality. For as soon as you do away with duality, you do away with oneness. The one and duality arise together. Neither can exist without manifestation of the other. Let me ask you, which became manifest first, the one or duality? It's kind of the chicken or the egg question, right? But seriously, which manifested first, the one or duality? Neither manifests before the other. That is an impossibility. For as soon as the first thought, and here, by the way, first thought is a human way of saying that we're speaking of an energy wave. Okay. So as soon as the first thought of what we perceive of and think of as the one occurred, duality and the one came into manifest form simultaneously. One cannot exist without the other. It simply cannot. As soon as the one perceived of itself as I am, duality sprang forth. We may not talk about it a lot tonight, but at another time, I do want to talk about really what we're doing when we use the words I am, especially when we use them consciously and intentionally in the creation process. Because in all honesty, to say it simply, when we use those words, I am, we are creating, maintaining, manifesting, and maintaining duality. I know a lot of people probably don't like that thought, but it's true. So as soon as the one, I'm going to say that again, as soon as the one perceived of itself as I am, duality sprang forth. One did not precede the other. They, the one and duality, are the same thing. And once the one, I am, manifest, it became infinite and eternal. So from one perspective, duality gave birth to the one. And from that other perspective, oneness gave birth, made manifest duality. And they arose together because they don't exist without each other. It's the same as light and dark, what we call light and dark. And here, once again, we're talking energy. All right. One cannot exist without the other, for they cannot be perceived without the other as a contrast. Once the one I am manifest, it became infinite and eternal. It always did exist, and it always will exist. There is no possibility, and this really underpins to me what we've been talking about, even with the individual realities and the collective reality. There is no possibility of escaping duality into oneness. For oneness does not, cannot exist without duality. There is no place to go, no place to get to, no thing to be, and no thing to become. Like I said, I wanted to share that to give a little different perspective of these concepts that we hold as so important in this belief system, the concepts of oneness and duality, because we see them, and it's become this way because of misunderstood information and knowledge and corrupted ancient future knowledge, okay, as it's been passed down outside of, to say it simply, the ancient future wisdom temples. They simply do not exist without the other. And it's for us to believe that we can do away with duality and become this oneness, you know, that's a misconception, and it's misunderstood about what is really being said by that, because what we're really saying when we say that, okay, is really what Kobaha was talking about. From the human perspective, to become one is just simply for us to understand that we're one species, that we're not each other's enemies, that we can go farther and have much more. It would do away with greed. It would do away with this perceived need for power and control. When we understand that there is more power to be had, more power to be manifested, more power to be worked with, more energy, more knowledge, more information, more manifestation, co-creation possibilities, when we work as one, when we stop seeing each other as enemies, when we allow for, it's okay from the human mind filter perspective of reality, for us to be different. As a matter of fact, we should rejoice in the differences, in the different perspectives, in the different religions and beliefs and all of these things, because without them, we're nothing. Without them, we're bland. Without them, we have very little power. But it is our fear. I heard years ago, early on my journey in this awakening process, early on, I couldn't even tell you where or who I heard this from, but it has always stuck with me. And we're talking about sin, whether or not sin was real or not, you know, or if it was a perceived man-made concept. And without going into all of that, what I remembered was, and this stuck with me, is if, and it's a big if there is such thing as sin, there's only one, and that is fear. Fear. Because as we know, not just in this belief system, but across the board, okay, in every religion, every religion on this planet, okay, religious scholars will tell you the true meaning of the word sin means to miss the mark. To miss the mark. And fear will cause you to miss the mark every time, because it takes you out of balance. it takes away your power. It takes away your strength. Okay. And I'm not saying that we don't have to, hey, roller coasters scare the bejeebers out of me. That's fear, but that's okay. That's not the kind of fear I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of fear that causes us to, and this is what I'm hearing to share over this. I'm talking about the kind of fear that causes us to hate, truly hate those who are different than us. Okay, because we fear that they're taking something away from us. We have missed the mark. Okay, with that, Ariane, I want to ask you to share what you have to share this evening.
Absolutely. It's right in line with that Essence has just shared. So, first, do you believe in dragons? Or in fairies? Or how about angels or extraterrestrials? These are all, in many respects, beings of power.
Ariane, I'm sorry. I want to interrupt. I apologize. I want to interrupt. I want to share one last thing. And I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry.
Go for it. I'll start again. I'm happy.
Going back to that, the use of the words I am, because that has become so big. Okay. Metatronic numerology. All right. Not, but in this belief system, and when I say this belief system, I think you all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what we call the New Age consciousness expansion, spiritual awakening belief system. All of these terms apply. Okay. We've come to understand that the words I am, okay, hold a particular frequency. I've written about that pretty extensively. Maybe we can have, maybe sometime next year, we can have a chat or something sharing, just talking about the use of the words I am and what that energy does. But just right here, right now, I want to share, and this was actually the last of that message that I just shared with you about oneness and duality. It said the use of the words I am. I want everyone, please to take this into your energy field. Okay. And I want you to personally sit with this, meditate with this, work with this, understand this for what is for you, especially with what is coming energetically in what we call the year 2022. All right. We've been talking about being co-creators and it being intensified. It's going to intensify a lot in this next cycle. Okay. The next solar cycle. The use of the words I am are one of the most, if not the most powerful frequency tools available to us, to humanity, for manifesting realms of duality. Okay, realms of duality is really, we can simplify that and say realms of physicality. So use them wisely. Do not use those words haphazardly. That is a frequency that is gaining power as it comes back stronger and stronger into the collective mind. Do not in any fashion use those words without truly understanding what you are doing. Okay, now I'm sorry, Ariane. Thank you.
Oh, that is fine. They were wise words indeed. For me, those words I am is a major commitment to self and everything else as well. It's a vow in some ways, and you really need to be careful about what you vow.
I very much agree. It's very much the same type of energy as a vow.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
All right, let's get back to dragons and fairies. Do you believe in them? How about angels or extraterrestrials? They're all, in many respects, they're beings of power. Mythological beings wrapped up in stories that can be beneficial or incredibly destructive. I was very surprised when this next creature appeared to me with a message for the humans of Earth. But as I started to unravel the message, it became sort of obvious that it's really very appropriate and very timely. Now, there'd be very, very few people on this planet who could think of this being as being beautiful. In my mind, there's not really a chance. It's got the body of a man, but the head and the tail of a bull. The Minotaur is a creature that's pretty much guaranteed to bring nightmares. And it's not really at all surprising that the Minotaur represents our greatest fears. Mainly, Minotaur represents an aspect of a primal fear that all humans hold, one that philosophers have frequently discussed, and that is the fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown is considered to be an irrational fear. It's a fear of something that our imagination dreams up. And although it feels like it's a very real possibility that whatever it is could happen, the reality is it may never actually come about. It's something that we make up. But having said that, I would also say that while the fear of the unknown is irrational and epitomized by the Minotaur, I think that if you met him in the supermarket looking at the heads of lettuce, you wouldn't think it was irrational at all. The scientific name for this fear of the unknown is xenophobia. Yep, nowadays, xenophobia is more commonly used to explain a dislike, a fear, or a prejudice, or even hatred of other people who are different to us. But the term has a broader scope. It's not limited to just other people, and it was more originally used to include a more general fear of the unknown. And it's easy to see how the two interact. If there's someone who is different to you, and you can't be sure how they will act or what they'll do, it can be scary. And if you put a Minotaur into that mix, well, just looking at it sends that fear skyrocketing through the roof. And there is never any doubt that whatever your fears or imagination has brought to the surface, the fear of what could happen has suddenly jumped from a possibility to a whopping big probability. And that's where we, the collective consciousness of humanity, are standing right now. We are in the labyrinth with the Minotaur. There's a good probability that the mythological stories of beasts such as the Minotaur were written as a way to explain things that seem strange and mystical and frightening. And in this case, there's an argument that says it's possible that the story was to explain earthquakes. You see, the Minotaur was supposedly trapped in a labyrinth that was built under the island of Crete. And in Crete, there's a fair amount of destructive seismic activity. He was supposed to stamp through the labyrinth, roaring his anger and possibly shaking the earth and causing buildings to fall. The message of the Minotaur is to remind us to keep our eyes and ears, mind, heart, and intuition open to all possibilities. The story told isn't always the rational reality. Time and growth of knowledge are sometimes the only way that rational thought can explain what is or has happened. Right now, a large percentage of the people of Earth are living in a fear that is a form of xenophobia. It's a fear that is so widespread and so insidious that most no longer recognize the fear. It's just a part of what is right now. We humans have become comfortable being stuck in the labyrinth with the Minotaur. It's the new normal. It's well known that negative political movements and mass hysteria can be driven by xenophobia. Fear is our strongest survival trait, and it is a critical driver of our evolution. When we are in fear, we fight, or we freeze, or we get the heck out of there. And as I look around me in my local community, as well as the wider world as portrayed by the media, both mainstream and independent, it's easy to see those who fight and those who fall into the freeze category. There isn't anywhere for those who want to get out of there, for those who prefer to flee. There's no escaping what's going on in the world right now. Flight is not a possibility. Me, I'm a freezer. My normal reaction to fear is to stick my head in the sand and do what I'm told and hope it will all go away. But I can also recognize myself under the banner of a different name for a fear of what may happen in the future, something called anticipatory anxiety. This is where your world is filled with what ifs, and I'm sure you can relate to this. What if I get COVID? What if I pass it to someone else? What if I die? What if my family dies? What if I get a reaction to the vaccine? What if I lose my job? What if my mask doesn't protect me? What if I want to go visit my family overseas? What if I want to go to the gym or a party or the pub or a wedding? The what ifs can be never ending. And they are something I'm very familiar with from my past as I struggled through depression and breakdown and PTSD. And even now, when I am on top of those things, I will find myself excusing as just rehearsing in case the what ifs do happen. Even though I know that my imagination is far more active than what is likely to happen in reality. You can't separate the physical from the spiritual. We've said that so many times. And we need to remember that the physical also includes the emotional and mental bodies. There is a minotaur in our midst. And our fears are so embedded in us that we no longer recognize them. They're a part of who we are. And they drive us to make decisions when our emotions are trapped. We are in the labyrinth. This is cognitive dissonance. This is anticipatory anxiety. This is xenophobia. And it is causing the distancing and possibly even the eventual destruction of the collective consciousness of humanity. Hard words. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we all can see that this is a possibility. I'm sorry, I'm reading a message from one of our listeners here. She's saying that it is my perspective that when we use the I am, we are almost soliciting situations to prove we are what is being declared. For example, by saying I am balance, you then will be given a situation, an initiation of sorts to prove you are what you just claimed to be. I agree. These declarations are powerful. We must keep in mind we are building towards our mastership. Thank you for sharing that very much. I appreciate that. And I fully agree. It's they're powerful words. I think they have, and I say, when I say powerful words, they are powerful words because they create a powerful energy, a frequency, a vibration. Our voice, and especially when we speak out loud, it is said by sharing what comes through in ancient Egyptian creation mythologies. It is said that Lord Ptah sang reality into existence, and what that means is there was a frequency. Okay, even in Genesis, in the Bible, and I'm sure, I'm no theologian, so I'm not going to say, but I do know these things. And God spoke, let there be, let there be. These are frequencies that are being talked about. Okay, these are just the words that we use to share these concepts of a frequency that was put forward. Okay, in whatever fashion. We can look at it from a scientific, we can look at it from a religious, we can look at it from a spiritual perspective. All of these things are just different perspectives. Okay, and we're saying the same thing. So when we use our voice, our thoughts are physical. Thoughts are as physical as your voice. All right. What EEG, isn't that the one that measures the brain waves? I get them confused. An EEG, right? Okay. The EKG, the heart, that's a frequency. These are physical things that can be measured. Okay, on physical technology that we have, even in our infancy, all right, of technology. That's another whole talk. All right. So when we speak these words, we are literally flowing a frequency out. When you can see energy, all right, you can understand, you can watch, get with a group of people, physically, and do energy work, saying these words and these things. Okay. And when you move into these states of oneness, like we were talking about earlier, all right, you can see, you can feel the frequencies move through your physical form. You can feel how they affect you. That is why, okay, as an example, because we seem to, as humans, be very, we've all had experiences, what we call negative experiences. Okay, so anger, when you anger, or someone else's angers, okay, and there's that rah. Okay, you can feel that energy move through you. Your gut gets tight, it gets nervous. Okay, you hear disharmonious sounds, and it shocks your nervous system. Okay, newborn babies are so susceptible to this. We need to start being ever so cognizant of energies and frequencies. This is information that they're bringing through right now, okay, as a part of what they wanted to share. So we're just going to let this flow. We have to become cognizant in every moment. All right. We keep saying, I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. Okay. And it is almost become cliche in this belief system. That's the problem. It is what has brought us here. With that, I'm going to share this. I'm being led to share this. This was a message that I received on October 6th. Because part of what I want to share this evening is about the fact that it is time, okay, in the work that I do and the communications that I personally have with, I'll just use the term general, etheric beings. So in other words, non-terrestrial beings, my guides, my crew, whatever you want to call them. We all understand spirit, all of these things. Okay. Universe, whatever. We were told, and I shared this, I know, in more than one chat a year ago, that it was going to become more and more important that we connect locally, not just with with our local community, okay, and not just with those of a like mind. All right. We need to now begin more so and more so. And in the next year, it's going to become even more important. All right. That we connect with our local community and speak and interact in a way that is beneficial to them. They are our children. I shared this. We're going to go with this. Okay, here we go. I shared in probably the last chat, I think it was, that in so many ways we have let our children down. And when I say our children, I am speaking of what we call the unawakened, mainstream consciousness. All right, as star seeds and light workers, using those terms to mean what we use them and to imply to those who have awakened, who understand reality is more than just this physical reality that you see on a television set or you see just presented before you. Okay, and what they being what I term shadow side forces of light would prefer we perceive reality be, which is small and confined. We know it is much more than that. We know that's why we are here in this moment in space and time, to be a part of a very important here we go, let me find the words, a very important pivot point for not only the collective consciousness of humanity and of Earth, but even the solar system, our galaxy, and the universe as a whole. Even our universe is but one small point of light in the infinite and the eternal. We need to widen our perspective. Starseed, you need to widen your perspective. You need to understand that it is time to take what you have honed, what you have learned, what you have mastered, all right, and take it out into the darkness and hold it and maintain it. I'm going to share this. An effective light worker, was from October. An effective light worker, starseed, is not one who stands among like-minded. An effective light worker is not one who stands within the glow and comfort of those of a like mind. For here, a light worker's light becomes dimmed by the luminous brilliance of her own kind. An effective light worker is one who can walk away from the comfort of existing in the arena, this particular environment or walk of life, of like-minded peers. A truly effective light worker in starseed is one who can comfortably walk deep into the darkness among the lost and the blind and continue to maintain the glow of love light they experience when existing, sitting comfortably among their like-minded family. To become a truly effective light worker, one must leave the comfort of family, of light, and radiate light deep from within the darkness. For what good, other than this, is a light worker? We have come through, many of us, a time of personal growth and learning, and it is extremely important. We have to become the masters of ourselves so that we can walk as a master. And I'm speaking energy here, where a master is most needed. And a master is not needed among masters. a master is needed among the neophytes, among the apprentices, among the unawakened, among the blind, among those living in fear. It is time we stop spending all of our energy. And I will apologize if this offends anyone. I don't mean it to, but this is the message and this is what I am sharing. We need to stop patting ourselves on the back. We need to stop feeding our egos. We need to stop preparing feasts for the satiated to gorge upon. And stop ignoring those who hunger. Masters before us have walked this planet. They did not spend all of their time seated in a circle of masters. They walked among the downtrodden. They took the light into the darkness. You cannot shine light into the darkness from outside of darkness. The walls of fear have become so impenetrable that for us, the awakened, to stand outside and say, oh, I will hold space. Oh, I will shine a light from here and allow those blind who cannot see to hopefully one day see this small light. No, it won't work anymore. Maybe there was a time it would, but it will not work anymore. We have to go in. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. We have to walk into the darkness, and within the darkness, we have to stand in our mastery. I'm hearing the words, the light of five. And what this says to me, that this means, is the light of five. Five is a frequency of adventure, change, and of anchoring change within physical reality. That is what we're now being called to do. The year 2020, there is so much potential. I would say, what I'm hearing now to share about 2020, excuse me, I said 2020, 2022, my bad, not enough twos there. Okay. Maybe it's this. Okay. In 2020, we shared this is, I shared this is the year humanity goes galactic. I shared that this would be the point in time when many generations from now would look back upon this, our descendants, and they would say, this is when it all began. This was the point where humanity began its journey into becoming galactic wayfaring citizens. Okay. 2021 was the year of mastering sound cymatics. We were to look at and come to better understand how sound creates reality. Sound and light are used to create physical reality. This is not just metaphysical knowledge. This is physical knowledge. Okay. 2022. I'm going to call it now in this moment, what I am seeing and sensing to share. The year of great potential. Communication is one. Communication is going to be vital across the board. Everybody, everything, in every way, communication. But the year of our greatest potential, and when I say that, what I am talking about, what I am seeing is our greatest potential for either destruction, okay, choosing a road to destruction, or choosing a road to growth and reaching our fullest potential as a collective and as a global society. Am I saying it's going to happen overnight? No, I want that clearly understood. I'm saying the potential is there, but we have got to stand in our mastery. We have got to be a part of it. We've got to choose a perspective. We've got to stop focusing on fear. We have got to stop focusing on judgment. We have got to stop ignoring our children and our children being the unawakened. We can no longer afford, they can no longer afford for us to ignore them. It's time to step away from our comfort zones, but do so in a conscious fashion. A choice, a conscious choice, knowing full well what we're doing and knowing why we're doing it. And we cannot do it. If you're going to do it, I'm hearing to share this. If you're going to do it because, oh, well, it's what I was told I have to do, don't bother. Don't bother. You're taking the wrong energy into that darkness. You're only feeding more darkness. Be ready. Okay, on a individual level, some of the things that we can each do to be of huge assistance to this collective. One, and I've talked about this for several months now, to the best of your ability and the best of your understanding, you personally, because very much related to what we are experiencing as a collective and as a global society right now, is a manifestation of what I know as the 17.8 ATKI, which is an Atlantean technology karmic imbalance that belongs to the collective consciousness of humanity. It has been brought forth for us to face, deal with, and rebalance to the best of our ability. The easiest, the way that you individually can be of the most benefit of doing that is to clear and rebalance your personal collective, or excuse me, your personal karma, Atlantean karma. To the best of your ability, please do that. You can see this as the collective, it's knotted energy. Okay, it's kind of like threads getting all knotted up, and it looks like just one big knot, but what it really is over 7 billion threads. Okay, each of them have little tiny knots in them, and that's all knotted together. And so the more of us who can individually rebalance and clear our Atlantean karma, it just goes toward that. Another thing that they have told me that is really vital and very important is, okay, with this new year that's coming in, all right, at the change of the year, and the reason, and you think, and we say, well, you know, why bother? Why is it so important? Okay, because spirit, universe doesn't go by our calendar, and that is correct, but we go by our calendar. This planet, humanity, goes by this calendar. Therefore, It's a collective choice. All right. So at the moment, we need to do this clearing, this Atlantean clearing before the end of the year. I know that's just a few days, but do the best that you can. All right. And then secondly, at the actual shift out of 2021 to 2022, okay, New Year's Eve, be in a space of energy and conscious thought, of clear mindfulness. I'm going to share it this way, okay, and you can see it sort of in this way. The old is dying. The old year is dying and the new year is being born. All right. In Buddhist belief and Hindu beliefs, there is the belief that what an individual is thinking about, not that, every part of the life doesn't matter up to the point of death, but conscious death is what we're talking about here. We're talking about conscious death and conscious rebirth. Okay. At the point of death, the thought and the thoughts that are being held, the energy that's being held, the perspectives that are being held are massively energetically important as to an individual's next incarnation. This is true for this collective as well. That is why it is so important at the stroke of midnight, okay, from out of the old and into the new. In this reality system, we be conscious and mindful. All right. Be in meditation. This would be a time to be with like-minded people, celebrating and, things like that. Just please be conscious in that moment and focused on, don't be trying to picture a perfect, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. That is not what this is about. This is about holding a specific energy field as we leave the old and walk out of that doorway and into the doorway of the new. It will go a long way. Just imagine if the entire global society did this. All right. Unfortunately, it's not exactly how it works. There are huge celebrations, but they're not always conscious. 2022, the other thing that I'm sharing, we're going to see, a lot of you probably who've been in this belief system for a long time have probably noticed, especially since this pandemic, this virus and this pandemic started. Before it, there was a lot of focus on multidimensionality. All right. That has kind of gone by the wayside, as a lot of other things have. In 2019, we also saw, before all this started, we also saw what I termed the rising of Lemuria transpire. Okay, that actually began at the end of 2018, and we saw in 2019 a lot of focus on Lemuria. This is going to come about again. This is going to a re-arising, if you will, of Lemuria and multidimensionality. These things are going to start being focused upon in this belief system. I don't know a better term to use. Okay. But we're going to see that bleed over into what we term mainstream reality as well. We're going to see it in a lot of different ways. We're going to see it show up in science. We're going to see it show up in technology, which to me, technically, those are one and the same thing. But, we understand the little bit of differences there we're talking about. And we're definitely going to see it in the realms of spirituality. We're going to see, they're showing me now, we're going to see some type of shift in religion. I'm seeing and sensing a shift in the energies of world religions. I would say, I would venture to say at this moment, we're going to see a lot of these world religions, maybe not necessarily the leaders of the world religions so much, but I think we're going to see some of that. This is what I'm sensing. But we're definitely going to see a lot of forward movement. I call it forward movement in world religions, the followers of these world religions starting to come together and be more accepting of each other. That could have some backlash by those who still are caught in the web of fear, but I think we need to pay attention to that. Okay, those are the main messages and energies that I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Communication, balance. And moving back into the communities. Those are very important. And that, you know, then I know I'll hear questions about, well, how do I do that? What am I supposed to do? That is very individual. It's for every individual to do as they are called to do. It's as, you know, that's the best I can answer that question. You know, it's not going to look the same for everybody, because that, honestly, if everybody was doing the same thing, you know, in their local communities, that's not going to do any good either. But it is going to be about community and communication. Community and communication. And with that, I think we're going to begin moving out of this chat. Do either of you other Krones have anything you would like to share here and say? No? Okay.
No, we've covered a lot of ground tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to add it, but it's something that just sprang to mind when you mentioned just now about the two keywords for 2022, communication and community. And as Oriana Essence knows, about a month ago, I started singing within my community by communicating with others, and people I wouldn't say are like-minded, getting together and closer and understanding each other. And I've got something new now starting from January. I've got a group. So the advice I would give to people as well, don't try to force it. Just, it will come together. You will see the signs. And I knew when suddenly I had that small group. And yes, they're not what I would call on a spiritual path as such, but they do understand, they resonate to what I'm trying to communicate with them. So I just wanted to add that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you, what you said about don't try to force anything. Okay. Just be open, know and understand that 2022 is going to see so many of us led to walk back into where we walked out of years ago. I'm going to say it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was long ago, like when I started this path, there was and for most of us, whether you've been on this path for 40 years or 4 years or 4 days, and there is a need in each individual's life. I want to make this clear. Maybe I need to make this clear, that you need to focus on yourself first. You do need to focus on the work and self first. Okay. Don't, and I'm going to say it this way, don't let your ego lead. Do not let your ego lead. Simply allow yourself to be led. Okay. And where you go into your community may look one way one day, and it may look another way another day. It may change literally from day to day, and that's okay. Don't think that is because you can't find your niche, or you haven't found your purpose. Okay. I think that is very important to understand, because I know within this belief system that has become another thing. That's in a lot of ways that has been fed by ego. All right.
That's why it's been in some way damaging.
Exactly. Very much so. Very much so. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I just want to say, also be open to unusual things and take advantage of things that come into you. Right. I've been volunteering for a few years, but I've been mainly doing it because the government told me I had to do it. Right. And I've got to the point now where that's no longer the case. And I went along to a meeting of a local art society and suddenly found myself taking on the role of treasurer of that whole society. I did not expect that. That was, I was sitting there in the audience and went, I'll do it. But it's turning out to be a joy. It is turning out to be a real joy. It is turning out to be something where I'm interacting with a whole new level of my community, a whole different field of people. And it is bringing me joy, and it is bringing, hopefully, eventually, something to that community as well. So don't discount any opportunity that might become apparent to you. Grab it with both arms if it feels right. Go for it.
Right. Very much so. Yeah. And that's exactly right. Just, like I said, it may be, you may find yourself, just as examples that are popping into my head, you may find yourself going into your community one day working at maybe there's a food kitchen, the next day you may be picking up litter, you might be at the library, you may be volunteering for something at the museum. I mean, it's community. It's about being in the community, interacting in a way that allows you to be there for others. And like I said, and like Ariana said, if you can't do it with joy, if you can't do it because you want to, then don't bother, because you're taking the wrong energy into that field. Okay. And when I say that field, I'm going to go ahead, because I'm hearing into that field of the energy of fear. Okay. That has just so many in global society now, just like imprisoned, truly imprisoned. Okay. And it's not about judging them or telling them, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and say it, because this has been one of the craziest things. It's not vaccinated or non-vaccinated or this or that or anything else. It's not about any of that. Okay. It's about living life. It's about understanding that you can make a difference. Your words make a difference. Your energy makes a difference, but not, I am not believing I am hearing this, but I'm going to share it. It's making me giggle. I'm thinking of when I was a child. I was born and raised Pentecostal Assemblies of God. And that song, that child song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine." Okay. And I can remember, and this is what I'm getting now, right now, that's making me giggle, is like when we were kids, and we'd be doing it, and there was all these actions, you do it, that song. And it's like, part of it said, "Hide it under a bush. Oh no, I'm going to let it shine." Okay. Don't hide under a bush. Be you, but be gentle. Don't go into that world. And when I say that world, I'm talking about mainstream reality trying to, this is what I'm hearing, so I'm going to share, forcibly awaken anyone. That is not your job. Oh my God, that reminds me.
I totally agree with that. So that's why coming back, the right people will come to you, because what's
Right.
happening is your energy, the way you're going to communicate with them, it might not be consciously, but unconsciously, they'll think, oh, you know what? I resonate with her. And it's interesting as well. Yes, of course, not doing it from an ego place. This is so important.
Mhm.
And I remember when I created this small group back 2 weeks ago, they're ladies. I told the ladies, we're here for each other, to help each other. And they smiled when I used the term to empower each other.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is. It is.
Yeah. There was, I've written this a few days ago, and it seems apropos right here. You are not here, excuse me, you are here to give you to the world in a way that benefits both the world and you. And that's the end of a little larger message here, and it is like, you are not here to find yourself. You are not lost. You do not need to be found. You are here to create yourself. You are here to create you in the way that brings you bliss and contentment. You are here to give you to the world in a way that benefits both the world and you. And with that, I believe we are now going to finish this chat. So, ladies, if you would say your goodbyes, as always, we are going to, most normally we do a meditation, but this time we're not going to do a meditation. We're simply going to bring ourselves to center and take a few moments just to allow the energy of everything that was shared during this chat to wash through us and over us, so that we take it with us, so that it speaks to us in the moments in the most beneficial way possible. And then we will leave this chat on a sound of silence. Do want you all to know, for you that are here with us live, you can stay on. We have an after chat where we talk and share. You're more than welcome to join us if you would like to. And it will be as soon as the recording is over. So I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being brave enough and strong enough to choose to manifest into this reality at this time. Thank you for being here, not just tonight, but in this lifetime, because the world would not be complete without you. Ladies?
Very encouraging words. Totally agree with that. Thank you for joining us tonight. Beautiful conversation. I know we went quite deep, and some of the information was quite direct. I know for some people it might be difficult to accept or even understand, but I'm wishing you all the best for next year. And you have this opportunity not only to stand in your power, but without the ego. I'm just making sure about that. Stand in your power, shine your light. And you've got this beautiful opportunity to work within the community, to be there for others. So I'm wishing you well, and I'll talk to you soon as well on YouTube on my channel.
Yeah.
To you, Oriane.
Essence spoke about each and every one of us being a knot in a bundle of threads. I work with threads, and right through this chat, I've been weaving. I do little weaving things, and I have a bundle of knots just here. So each and every one of you watching this is a part of my bundle of knots, which will eventually be unraveled and make into a nice little weaving thing. Please, 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 as Essence said, have a think about the knots in your life and start the journey to unravel them. I've been unraveling my personal knots for the last 2 years, and I can vouch for the fact that it makes an enormous difference to me, which will, as a little part of the collective, make an eventual enormous difference when many other people are able to join us. Have a wonderful new year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. And Happy New Year to everyone. And we'll see you on the other side when we go through that door. Okay. So if everyone will just take a couple of deep breaths and relax. Bring yourself into that centered state of stillness and allow the energies that we've shared in this chat to just absorb into your energy field. Don't worry about words. Just simply allow the energy to become a part of you. Kara unche, anapau, nagyan. I am the ancient future, transitioning immortal. Kara unche, anapau, nagyan. Kara unche, prana. Kara unche, prana. I am the ancient future breath of life. Kara unche, prana. Kara unche, prana. Kara unche, prana.